liars. They obviously need to conceal the truth, and all we have to do is spread that awareness, spread that truth.
I also wanted to respond here real briefly to the countless comments that I see directed either at myself or other whites that we should take no particular pride in the accomplishments of our race. That these things that other whites have done are in no way a reflection on us, and we should only speak about our own personal accomplishments. Well, I've talked about these things before, but I've done a long list of altruistic things in my life, and that's not to pat myself on the back, because at the time that I did these things, I never wanted any recognition for them, and I never expected anything to come out of them. I just naturally did these things. And the things that I'm talking about that I've done were for non-whites. So, I could talk about these things all day. But the fact of the matter is, there's nothing wrong with us taking pride in our race, in the accomplishments of our race. We are the descendants of these people. We share the same blood, okay? And when I talk about these things, I've explored my heritage in great detail. I've traveled and I've lived in the place of my forefathers. And I suggest that to anyone out there. Like myself, I'm Irish and Scottish, and I lived there for a while. And there's a great sense of pride that I got from doing so. You can't get these things from reading a book. Okay? You have to go there in person and stand in the same place that your forefathers once stood. And you have to appreciate the history, just seeing the castles and the things that they accomplished, going to the war memorials and whatnot. It just really will instill something in you that you otherwise have no chance of getting. And I take a great deal of pride in that. I draw strength from them. And whenever I have any doubt, or if I have any fear or any hesitation or whatever else, I will think of the stories of my ancestors and the things in which they did. And I know that I'm capable of doing the same thing. And this is kind of all trivial anyways, because the same people who suggest that we shouldn't take pride in the accomplishments of our ancestors, and no one can deny the fact that there's a long list, an endless list of accomplishments that have come from my culture, from my race. Okay, that collectively we've added a lot to this world. Most of the things in which we all take for granted were put there and were invented or discovered, to be more accurate, by my ancestors. So I take a great deal of pride in that. And again, this is all speaking from a defensive tone, because if our race wasn't threatened, then I wouldn't have to speak along these lines, where everyone's trying to say race doesn't exist, and they're trying to convince us that there will be nothing lost by the extinction of the white race, because inevitably that's what's going to happen. Well, while they're trying to convince us that, hey, race doesn't matter, we're all the same. Well, no, we're not the same. And that makes a person such as myself, a very proud white person, feel that it is absolutely necessary and essential to point out that we are unique, that we are special, that we have offered a lot to the world, to the collective good of us all. And if we lose sight of that, then we will welcome our own demise, because we'll think it doesn't matter. Well, I challenge anyone who thinks that way to go and explore their heritage, so they can see how unique and special they are, and wrap yourselves in that history. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And back to my point, to these same people who suggest that we shouldn't bask in the reflected glory of our ancestors, they're doing the same thing. But not only that, a lot of the people who they stand behind and who they look to for guidance are people such as Malcolm X, who did some, I guess, positive things later in his life, but he's very hateful early on. They're looking at someone like Muhammad Ali, who was just a boxer, for Christ's sakes. He was an activist, okay, big deal, but what did he ever do that was such a great contribution to the world? Nonetheless, let me not criticize their heroes, or anyone's heroes for that matter, but I will point out the fact that other groups of people are constantly looking to people such as these, right? Well, whoever, not just black folks, but every other group of people. They're looking to their heroes, and they take pride in these things. The black inventors and proud Indian warriors and Chinese inventors and so on and so forth. The list goes on. And they're all allowed to take pride in that. But when it comes to white folks pointing it out, these same people who on their webpage will have pictures of their heroes. They'll have pictures of these people. I've seen it countless times. And they're the same ones criticizing me or telling me, hey, you got no right to take any pride in these people. What have you done? What have you done? And I mean, it's just so hypocritical. And they don't even see that. They don't even understand this. I mean, really. So, you know, I could be looking at William Wallace, Mother Teresa, whatever, it doesn't matter, and trying to take pride in these things that these people have done, and trying to draw strength from them. I could be talking about philosophers, inventors. There's a whole long list of people, of white folks that have had great accomplishments. Well, should we not all know our history and where we came from and take some pride in these things? See, I'm not going to knock black folks for looking at Malcolm X or Muhammad Ali or Martin Luther King or whatever. They have every right to do so, and they should. They should. It lets them know their place. It lets them know who they are, where they came from. These things are absolutely essential. And the same thing goes for any other race of people, but that includes white folks as well. And you're damn right when I say we invented most things and we did this, that, and the other. I'm talking about the positive things. I take a lot of pride in that. And it is a reflection of who I am and who I can be and who I strive to be. And it speaks to my capabilities as well. But nonetheless, before you come along and knock it and try and tell me that you're taking pride in something you didn't even do. Well, first of all, you don't know me and the things that I've done in my life. I have a lot to be proud of. And I could go on and on about things of a personal nature. But I know my history as well. And these are things that I take pride in. And anyone that doesn't is a fool. And if you don't think that your race or your group of people are special and unique, then I don't know what to tell you. You've been completely brainwashed and manipulated by those who don't want you to think that your group and your race are special and unique. Now these things, this pride doesn't have to be divisive. We don't have to divide ourselves so far along racial lines that we hate others. Now that's been suggested to us all our entire lives. If you take pride in your race and yourself, then that means you hate others. And that's just an absolute figment of our imagination that has been imposed upon us. There's no such rule. I can be completely proud of the accomplishments of my own without having to hate others or wish harm upon them or anything else. So, you know, this message would go out to blacks or anyone else. Take pride in who you are, where you came from, and draw strength from that. Because if they did it, you can do it. Look at it that way. That's your blood. That's where you came from. If they did it, you can do it. And always strive for greater things. Well, the same thing goes for white folks. When I'm talking about the great things that whites have done, it's not for the purpose of rubbing it in anyone's face. It's because I genuinely take pride in these things and I draw strength from these things. And above and beyond everything else, don't be a hypocrite about it. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't come and tell us, hey, you got no right to do that. All the while you guys live, and I'm talking black folks right now, I guess, because I do keep pointing to Martin Luther King and stuff. These people are your heroes. And you don't take any shame in that, and you'll voice your pride and without any shame or hesitation. Well, same thing goes for everyone. I mean, in your eyes, your pride is right and just, and it's perfectly fine, but white pride is evil, and it's inherently wrong. You know, we need to totally forget ourselves, our history, and in our future, and just submit to our own demise. Well, of course we don't have to do that, and we shouldn't do that, and we should take pride. So to any of you who might suggest such a thing, I encourage you to think about that a little bit. And if you think about it and you still say, you got no right or whatever else, then I don't really have any kind words for you, so I'll just refrain from commenting to you now or at any point in the future.